Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel, and today I'm going to be giving my predictions of the final Premier League table. And I know you guys are probably thinking, I already gave my Premier League predictions like 2 or 3 weeks ago. But hold on man, the transfer window just shut and we saw big chances that Lukaku and Cristiano Ronaldo going to the top 4 sides. So obviously my Premier League predictions are going to change. But in terms of this season, it's going to be an exciting one because we literally looks like we have a 4-horse race between the top 4 sides. But who do you think is going to win the Premier League? Is it going to be Man City, the reigning Premier League champions? Is it going to be Chelsea, the European champions? Or is it going to be Liverpool, who are going to regain their Premier League title? Or even Manchester United under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer? Let me know in the comments. But before going this video, you know what I'm going to say, make sure you guys like, comment, and hit that big subscribe button right there. And make sure you guys, yes, you, give me your own predictions. Who's going to win the Premier League? Who's going to finish in the top 4? Who's going to finish in the European spots? So the 10th place team I'm going to go for is West Ham. I had them originally 11th, but I pushed them up to 10th, so that's already a noticeable change. I feel like they're going to get into the top 10. I feel like I underestimated them, but in terms of this season, I don't see them going anywhere further than that, because we see teams like Everton and Tottenham who've already improved on their side, getting in new managers with new ideas, and it looks like they have already gotten a boost from their new managers. Also, the other reason is because they have European football, have to play on Thursdays nights, and that's going to catch up to them going to Eastern Europe, travelling very, very far, and going back onto playing jet lagged, etc., etc., already with their thin squad. Imagine if Antonio get injured, man. He's their only striker. It's going to be devastating for West Ham. And even if he gets tired during the Christmas period, who are they going to rotate with Antonio? He's the talisman. He's their main player. And West Ham are lacking in depth in that position and in other sectors of the pitch as well. If Tottenham lose Harry Kane like we saw in the first 3 games, they still have Heung-min Son to play up front who can score the all-important goals. Or even if Everton lose Calvert-Lewin, they can play Richarlison out there. West Ham are very, very role-dependent in terms of their players. Even if Declan Rice or Suchek get injured, I feel like they're important players. However, I'm not going to go that far. I feel like West Ham do have a strong enough side to get into the top 10. I feel like they're more trustworthy and consistent compared to teams like Leeds, who are erratic, and obviously one game they could win 3-0, next game lose 4-0, and Wolves, they still have a new manager, so I'm a bit hesitant to predict them to finish anything higher than 10th. So the 9th team I'm going to be predicting, it may be a surprise to me, man, who knows, Arsenal FC, because it looks like they're relegation contenders right now. But in all honesty, I feel like they will be able to climb up the table throughout the course of the season and actually finish in the top 10. I feel like they will finish 9th because of 2 reasons. People may think this is too high because of how bad they started, but let's be honest, man. Look at Arsenal's players at the end of the day. They got Aubameyang, who did have a bad season last year, but we all know on his day he's a world-class player, and I feel like in the course of the season he will be able to perform up to his best. You got Odegaard, who was a popular name throughout Europe in the last 3 or 4 years, who has been performing well at Real Sociedad, and it did perform decent at Arsenal in the latter stages of the season when he got loaned there. So Arsenal do have enough talent, they do have enough quality in their team to actually grind out a 9th place position this year, man. But the second reason why I feel like Arsenal will finish 9th is because I feel like Mikel Arteta will eventually get sacked this season. He's obviously not the man for the job, finishing back-to-back 8 finishes for Arsenal. I feel like a new manager will come in, give the players a boost, a lift. They'll have a point to prove. Obviously, when a new manager walks in, you want to impress him. So I feel like players like Aubameyang and Lacazette, who have been kind of, I don't want to say outcasted, but do not look interested in playing football. So when a new manager comes on board, they're going to get their attention straight away and they're going to start playing well again and start scoring goals. So I feel like in the second half of the season, they'll start to pick up their form. They'll play week in, week out consistently, considering the fact that they don't have European football as well, so they can focus on the Premier League. And I feel like eventually they'll climb up the table and finish 9th place. So the 8th place team I'm going to go for is Aston Villa. And first of all, I was a bit apprehensive. I was a bit hesitant putting them this high up because obviously they have the departure of their talisman Jack Grealish, their club legend. And obviously he just moved to Manchester City. So there's going to be a gaping hole in that Aston Villa side. We've seen teams like Chelsea with Hazard when he left. They had a year or two, didn't know how to play because he was literally their star player. They built the team around him. Tottenham with Gareth Bale when he left as well. So obviously it's quite a big risk what Aston Villa did. Sold their player which they're so used to playing with, so accustomed forming their tactics around. So when you sign 3 or 4 players, it may look good on paper, but we do not know if they're going to perform at their optimum level. But I have trust, I have faith in the signings they've done. I feel like they've been astute, they've done great business this summer, trustworthy signings, players who are going to hit the ground running this season. But I love the signings they've done, man. Danny Ings, a potent goal scorer, guaranteed to get 15 plus goals this season. Another great signing was Buendia. Obviously had an amazing season at Norwich in the Championship, and does has experience playing in the Premier League when he was at Norwich 2 years ago, and he did quite well as well. I was surprised no one snapped him up when he was playing for Norwich 2 years ago. Obviously you got other players like Bailey, who's going to give Aston Villa a different dimension on the wing because he's quite direct, he can take players on, so I feel like Aston Villa will be strengthening that department. And finally, it looks like they actually have a decent healthy squad this season in terms of how many players they could start. Obviously, other players like Watkins and McGinn who are going underneath the radar because everyone's talking about their new summer signings. So they got a lot of strength in depth. They got a lot of talented players. And over the course of the season, I feel like they can change it up depending on the team they're facing. So the team I got finishing 7th is Tottenham Hotspur. And I originally had them finishing 8th. But I like what I've seen so far this season to just moving up one spot. Obviously, it's early in the Premier League and obviously you get that boost from a new manager walking in like Nuno. But I still feel like they are going to finish one spot higher than I originally predicted. The reason why they kept their main talisman, their main striker, one of the best strikers in the world, Harry Kane, who's going to win you a lot of points by himself. And not only him, Son and Kane are going to be responsible for this. We saw last season under Mourinho where Kane and Son were responsible for winning Spurs like 15 to 20 points because the Mourinho played a defensive style of football, literally relying on his world-class players to win games in a blink of an eye. And I feel like it's not going to be much different this season because Nuno Santos loves to play defensive football as well. So they're not going to have many chances, but I feel like they don't need that many chances because they're world-class finishers who know how to find the back of the net. We've seen it already this season at the beginning of the year where Son scored 2 goals in his first 2 games, literally beating Watford 1-0, scoring that amazing free kick, and then you had him scoring against Man City, so he got 6 points literally by himself in terms of scoring goals. But I feel like this defensive style football is a double-edged sword. Obviously it's good for keeping clean sheets, but at the end of the day I don't trust Dijk and Sanchez in a course of a season to keep many clean sheets because although already they do look strong, solid, keeping clean sheets at the moment, I don't feel like they're that good of defenders. We know they have mistakes in them. So the 6th place team I'm going to go for is Everton. And out of all the teams who are going to be competing for a European spot in terms of 6th to 10th, I feel like Everton are the most trustworthy team. And the reason why is their manager, Rafa Benitez. He's reliable, he's experienced, he knows how to make clubs stable like we saw with Newcastle, like we've seen in Chelsea in the past. This guy knows how to get results when his team is in dire need. And his style of play may not be pretty, may not be entertaining, may not be easy to the eye, but there's one thing we can't deny. His style of football is effective and is going to get Everton points. It's simple to understand. We have already seen it embedded in the player's brain this season. It looks like they're already playing their style of football. We've got Demarai Gray, Townsend on the wings, back to basic. It's literally defend, keep clean sheets, counter, score goals with their wingers. Demarai Gray has been scoring a lot of goals this season, and although it may look like he will slow down eventually, if you can get enough goals from him and Townsend over the course of the season to support Calvert-Lewin and Richarlison up front, Everton are going to get enough goals in the Premier League to actually finish in a top 6 place. Another thing with Rafa Benitez, like I said in my other video, he knows how to make stadiums a fortress, and I think this is what he's going to do with Goodison Park like they did in the David Moyes era. So the 5th place team I'm going to go for is Leicester City, and I think this is a surefire bet for them to finish in this place. They've done it in back-to-back seasons, and in terms of this season, I feel like he's not going to be much different. Obviously, they've strengthened in terms of the areas they've needed. But at the end of the day, I don't think their squad is good enough to actually challenge for a top 4 place. But I don't see them getting challenged by any of the teams underneath them. They got their core still there. Vardy, Schmeichel would have the experience to see themselves out into a Europa League spot. And I like the new signings they've already acquired. Vestergaard, who's going to replace the injured Fofana in terms of this Premier League season. You got other players like Samore, who's going to be good in the midfield next to Ndidi. You got Daka, who's going to be pushing Jimmy Vardy, who was pretty inconsistent last year in terms of the Premier League, not scoring that many goals. So I feel like Leicester do have the strength and depth to actually deal with the Premier League because obviously they've got the competition within their side. Players are going to want to perform at their best, not losing out in terms of the spot. So in 4th spot, I'm going to go for Manchester United. I feel like their squad is amazing. Honestly, fabulous, out of this world, world class. there's no way they're not going to finish in the top 4. They finished second last year, and now they added Cristiano Ronaldo, one of the greatest players of all time, Varane, one of the best centre-backs in the world, and Sancho, one of the most promising wingers in the world. So there's no way they should be falling out the top 4, and as much as I do criticise Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, he knows how to get into the top 4. We've seen in the last 2 seasons, finishing third and finishing second in the Premier League. So I got no doubts that he's going to be able to guide Manchester United to a top 4 finish. But this isn't going to be good enough for Manchester United in terms of their expectations. And the reason why I don't think they're going to actually compete for the Premier League this season and tail off with 10 games to go, because A, the other teams are stronger around them. Man City, the Premier League champions. Chelsea, the European champions, who just added Romelu Lukaku, one of the best strikers in the world. And let's not forget about Liverpool, who no longer have their most important players injured. Van Dijk's back. Salah obviously been scoring goals this season. So I feel like it's going to be hard for Manchester United to actually compete with these sides. And the most important reason, the second reason why I don't see Man United actually compete for the Premier League, you've guessed it, is their manager. He does not know how to make the appropriate adjustments across the entirety of a Premier League season like we saw last year, running Bruno Fernandes and Rashford into the ground, playing every single game. And even his game management, he doesn't see when the game is drifting. He needs to make an important substitution. We saw it in the final against Villarreal. He's not on his toes. He doesn't think ahead of the curve. He just lets the game go past him. He does not know how to make the little tweaks, the little adjustments. We even saw it against young boys, man. He's sleeping, he's snoring. He's not even paying attention to the game. So the third place team I'm going to go for is Liverpool. And yes, I've demoted them one spot, just one spot, because honestly, I feel like there's 2 sides stronger than them. And this is not me saying that Liverpool are going to do bad this year. I just feel like the Premier League this season looks so strong, and it's going to be interesting to watch for the neutral. I feel like Liverpool are going to be strong this year. They're going to do good things this year. I think they're going to win a lot of games. They got the best centre-back in the world back, Van Dijk, who's going to be instrumental in terms of providing composure and defensive stability at the back. Also, Salah, consistent, still bagging in goals every single game, it looks like. He's going to be doing this throughout the course of the season, and he's going to be instrumental to help Liverpool get into a third spot. Even other players who was nicked up, we're going to have a fully healthy squad unlike last year, so there's no reason why we shouldn't be stronger. There's absolutely no reason. Potentially we haven't made the appropriate signings in terms of the Premier League, and that's the reason why I don't see us actually competing for the Premier League title. I feel like in some areas of the pitch we still look thin, we still look like we need strength and depth, especially in the forward areas. Imagine if someone like Salah gets injured, we have no replacement for him. If Man City have Kevin De Bruyne injured, they will still win games with players like Foden, Bernardo Silva, Mahrez, etc., etc. If Chelsea have players like Kante injured, they still have Jorginho who can do a job. They can do Kovacic who can do a job as well. They got so many strength and depth, and they have not superstars in every single areas of the pitch, unlike Liverpool, who will be struggling during the Christmas period if they suffer injuries or if the players are tired. So the second place team I'm going to go for, this was generally a hard one. It was hard to pick between the 2 sides. But I'm going to go for Chelsea FC. And I honestly think they're going to be able to push Man City right to the end. But I feel like they're just going to come short in terms of winning the Premier League this season. But the thing is, there's so much to like about Chelsea. They got a world-class manager coming fresh off winning the Champions League last season. They got so much strength and depth in terms of their squad. They got 2 superstars in every position, it looks like. If they drop Lukaku, they still have Werner. If they drop Havertz and Mount, they still have great players like Ziyech and Hudson-Odoi. So Chelsea got so much talent, and they have the manager, they have all the minerals, and the most importantly, they have the world-class bona fide striker at the helm, Romelu Lukaku, who's a surefire bet to actually bag 20 goals in the Premier League this season. But at the end of the day, a team had to finish second, and it was going to be Chelsea. I don't know if Romelu Lukaku is actually going to be that guy to guide Chelsea to a Premier League title. Obviously, Chelsea have a great record against the top 6 sides, but that's without Romelu Lukaku. It looks like Tuchel is going to want to play him in the top games, like we saw against Liverpool, and he was pretty much ineffective against Liverpool. So, like we know, Romelu Lukaku's goal scoring record against the top sides in the Premier League, it's not great. It's not great. is nothing to look at. He doesn't even score that many goals against the top sides. So with Chelsea drop points against these sides, if Tuchel constantly persists with playing Romelu Lukaku up front. So in terms of first place, you've guessed it, the team I'm going to go for is Manchester City. The team which just won the Premier League last season. The team which has won 3 Premier Leagues in the last 4 years. Come on, man. It shouldn't be a surprise. We shouldn't be shocked to win the Premier League. We do this every single year where we're like, oh, will Man City win the Premier League? They don't have a striker. They don't have this. They don't have that. And at the end of the day, they usually win the Premier League. Yes, it would have been nice to get Haaland or Kane or a world-class striker, but they don't. And the thing is with Man City, though, they have the players, they have the midfielders, they have the forwards to accumulate enough goals as a unit to literally make up the numbers of a striker they have missed out. We literally saw it last season when they did have a striker, and I think their top goal scorer only scored 10 to 12 goals in the Premier League season. So it's not that much of a worry for Man City. We saw them thrash Arsenal 5-0. We saw them thrash Norwich 5-0 as well. And obviously these sides aren't world-class sides. And most of these sides aren't even world-class in terms of the Premier League. So they're not even going to need a bona fide scorer to literally have that 1 or 2 chances to score. Man City are going to create enough chances for the midfielders to accumulate at least 2 or 3 goals in a game. Man City, we know, love to be the big bully against the little sides. They know how to roll those teams over, win 4 to 5-0. They just have the squad depth. And they have the defence as well to get clean sheets. Like we saw with Diaz last season. Stones had a phenomenal year. Liverpool as well. So I feel like there's not much worry in terms of Man City. Yes, like I said, it would have been nice to get a striker, but they didn't. And I feel like they have the players to win the Premier League this season.